Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Mike Luke. The show is presented to you by Branded Bills, Premium Headwear and Apparel, code PHNX. Hello, William Brett Allis. How are you doing
Hello,
today?
Michael Luke. I'm doing good.
All right, now we got Arizona BYU. We're going to talk about what the meaning of a victory would be. We're going to get Brad's predictions. We're going to talk some Arizona basketball recruiting, a little bit of a red-blue as well. Wanted to get to a little bit more of William's thoughts on this. But first, Brad, Arizona BYU. BYU is not a team that I think a lot of people thought would be undefeated at this point. You were more bullish on BYU than others before the season, so I got to give you a lot of credit. Brad, what are your initial thoughts on this game?
I think obviously BYU's playing good football right now. I'm not so sure I was bullish on them. I just thought they were one of.
You said they'd be better than their preseason ranking, Brad.
Yeah, I did. But there were also a lot of that was just anyone who were in the bottom 3 or 4 in the league, I thought could be teams who could challenge. Did I see them undefeated? Absolutely not. But I thought they'd be a better football team than I know some people picked them dead last or second to last. And I thought they'd be better than that, obviously. But yeah, I didn't foresee 6-0. And some of it has been in very impressive fashion, the win over K-State. Others have been a little more, I don't want to say smoke and mirrors because a win is a win, but not less impressive, at least reading the box score. I can't say I've tuned into a ton of BYU football. But at the end of the day, it's a road game in the Big 12, which is difficult. Right. And that's why, yes, you've already hinted to it. I would lean towards picking against Arizona. Would I be surprised if Arizona wins? No. Would I be shocked? Certainly not. But I will probably more often than not pick against Arizona on the road in the Big 12 because it's a hard place to win. Even if you look at the Texas Tech is a good football team. And it took really Arizona messing up more than it took Texas Tech to win that football game. And that's just the way it's going to be. I'll probably pick Arizona more often than not to win at home as well. So, but yeah, Arizona's going to have to clean things up if they're going to go into Provo and win.
All right, now a couple people on here that are much smarter than me because they actually I didn't share my show notes, but looking at some of these over-unders, Keyan Burnett is at 29.5 yards. He needs to be, in my opinion, Brad, he's got to be well over that. At this stage in the game, you know what you got with T-Mac. He's going to be targeted, but Burnett is the one dude that I believe and didn't get as much action last game as probably you'd like, but I need a Utah-type performance from him pretty much every game. We know that he's capable of it. I need something in that 50, 60, 70-yard range, William.
I think if Arizona's going to be more successful on offense moving forward, he probably has to be prioritized number 2 or number 3 on Arizona's target list. Because he's one of the few guys who's proven, even though it's in a 1 or 2 game sample size, that he can be successful. Right. I obviously it's safe to say T-Mac is the best receiver on the team, if not the best receiver in the country. But he's only going to be effective if you can get him help. And I have seen, I think, enough of a sample size from Montana Lemonious-Craig that he's not a consistent number 2. He can be a guy who could have good games.
He's not explosive enough to be.
He can have moments. He could have very good games, but no, he's not a guy who week in and week out you can count on for 4 catches for 80 yards.
Right.
He might have a 5 for 100, and then you might have 0 for 0. But I think Burnett's a guy, not that you need to force him the ball, but he has to be prioritized in the game plan, much like Tanner McLaughlin was last year.
Right.
McLaughlin was probably the 3rd option. Obviously behind, but I think I would slot Burnett up higher because I just haven't seen enough of the young receivers. I haven't seen enough from those guys to say that, yeah, they can be. But I have seen Burnett have the big game against Utah, so they should be building on that. And tight ends, especially when you have an athletic tight end, is a position that you should be able to find ways to get them the ball. Because invariably they're going to be either matched up on a smaller safety or, in Burnett's case, a slower linebacker or a comparable linebacker, but Burnett's going to be bigger than the linebacker.
Right.
And if you want to use Olsen, fine. Use him as well, but not at the expense of Burnett.
That's where I'm at too. And again, there's other guys like I think you hit the nail on the head. By the way, Rick Trimmer is in here. Real quick, I said Rick Trimmer sounds like a great NASCAR name. A person, Merced, on Twitter messaged me and said that I believe his father was a great NASCAR driver or driver. So either way, Rick Trimmer, Congratulations. I didn't know that. Okay. But let's see here. Let's talk a little bit, though, about still the receiving options. We're going to get to BYU here in a second. Keyan Burnett, like I said, I totally agree with you on that one. You got to be able to get him the ball. Montana Lemonious-Craig, I'm just kind of at this stage with Montana Lemonious-Craig where he's just kind of a dude. I know that he looks the part. I know that he was that he was fairly highly rated by some people in the transfer portal, just not that good. That's okay. It's not like he's not a Division I football player, but we've seen enough, especially when teams try to force feed him, that no team worries about Montana Lemonious-Craig. How about that?
But you need dudes. You need guys who can go out and have games from here and there. And that's it. I think, unfortunately, at this point in time, all the receivers other than T-Mac appear to be dudes. Interchangeable. Yeah. Now, could that change? Yes. Could Noah develop some chemistry with a Patterson or a Hyatt or Riley? Sure. But he hasn't yet. And that's been part of the problem. And part of that is what Brennan was talking about this week, with guys running the wrong routes or Noah looking for the wrong routes or whatever. But the thing with the tight end position, and I'm going to lump in, Olsen, who they seem to like. I don't know if Miranda's status has changed. He got plenty of reps early in the season. I didn't see him much, so I don't know if he's dinged up or if he's in the doghouse or what.
I think they feel the need to play the San Jose State guys. That's just kind of where I'm at with it.
But either way, one of the benefits of the tight end position is you can use it as that safety valve, as that what I call rhythm throws, where you make 2 or 3 of them, and maybe they're not getting a lot of yards, but you connect with the guy. You get the ball out of your hand quick, whether it's just a little quick out, a little sit route in the slot. I know people are going to yell at me, bubble screens, wide receiver screens, tight end screens, because what happens is you complete passes and you get a little bit of confidence. I would be, again, booting Fifita out a lot. So what's real easy to do? You look long, but who's underneath? Keyan Burnett or Sam Olsen, and you dump it off to him. Right. And you're 4 for 5. Maybe it's 4 for 5 for 25 yards. And that can still be good because either you're moving the ball, but you're getting rhythm, you're getting your quarterback engaged, he's seeing the field better. And that's a personal philosophy of mine that I think you do, especially if you have an offense that's sputtering. One of the offensive coordinators I thought did a great job of that. I know he took a lot of heat was at times with Sonny Dykes. Mm-hmm. You built up rhythm, you built up confidence, and then what did you usually see? Explosive, second and third quarters sometimes. So sometimes you take what they give you early to develop that confidence, and I love using the tight end for that.
All right, now a couple things. Cade Harrop says, Cade Harrop being very nice, by the way. So is Marcus Arroyo going to Tucson? I'm just saying I have a bet with somebody that I have no inside information, but I have a bet that he will be the OC at Arizona next year. That is my guess. Okay, and P. Hoff says, we ran wide receiver screens so effectively last year. Yes, very, very good. Now I want to go to the great Dick Wilson here. By the way, Dick Wilson is another great name. Keyan, 5 for 75. Patterson, 4 for 66. T-Mac, 7 for 152. If that happens, we're winning this game, William Brad Allis, and your prediction will be wrong, my friend. Wrong.
Yeah, because that's 280 right there without hitting a running back, without secondary, third, fourth receiver. So yeah, if those numbers come true, Arizona's winning and probably winning by at least 7, if not 2 possessions.
Here's my thing with BYU. I know they're solid, and we're going to get to them here in a second. But this is also a team where, yes, if you watch the K-State game, and again, a win is a win is a win. That was a really kind of a fluky type thing. You were getting weird special teams touchdowns, like the game was over before it started. I don't know that we know that BYU is good. Again, they're obviously decent enough to be 5-0 against, but I also don't know that they've necessarily been battle tested. Maybe like with Arizona, William Brad Allis.
Yeah, but the problem is Arizona in these battle-tested games, they blinked last week.
Right.
They got punched in the mouth and didn't respond. And BYU has found ways to win. Now, that can go one of 2 ways. One, you learn to win, or you are due for that letdown. And I don't know. Again, I haven't watched. I've watched half the K-State game and a little bit. I've not fully scouted BYU, so I can only go by box scores. But 6-0 is 6-0. Right. Again, is it one of those where the first time someone punches them in the mouth, they fold? Or is it like, yeah, we've done this, seen this, done this, been on our mission. We're fine. We're 27 years old with 8 kids. A bunch of scrappy kids from Tucson aren't going to scare us. But yeah, so we'll see. I mean, that's obviously why we play the games. But it's that BYU is at the very least not necessarily indicative of their record. Although looking at one of those metrics, they have one of the toughest schedules in the country, and they're 6-0 with it. So take that.
Now, let me ask you this, Brad. Arizona, I want to talk a little bit about the running game. Back the A zone in 93, zone of Tucson 93. We're very smart man. I want the running game. Listen, I've been pretty hard on this coaching staff here, but one coach, though, that I have absolutely no quibbles with on the offensive side has been Alonzo Carter. You got to remember, he inherited a running back room that was totally depleted. You lost Jonah Coleman, you lost DJ Williams, you lost Michael Wiley. All three of those guys were good. And you lost Ja'Cory Karofsky-Merritt, who I think is probably fair to say merits the most touches out of any of the players on this in this stable. You lost him. Quali Conley, Kedrick Risano. I got to give this man a lot of credit for what he inherited and what he's done, because the running game has been solid for Arizona all season.
Well, Arizona wisely, and this is, I know some people are down on Brennan. They saw a need to upgrade the running back position. They knew Speedy Luke was not a sure thing. They knew the other young running back. They knew they ended up losing what? They lost 5 running backs if you count the 2 freshmen who went to Washington.
Yeah.
What was it? Washington and Muhammad.
Adam Muhammad and Jordan Washington. Yeah.
And I like both those guys a lot too. I think those guys are really good running backs, and Muhammad's playing for UW right now. But people, they brought in Merritt and they brought in Conley, and people were a little surprised they brought in Risano.
Right.
But
he's been really good.
He's been A, really good. B, the original plan I think was to, have him as that third running back, but with Merritt's issues, with him, first the decommit, then the transfer issues, now the second transfer issue. It just proved to be a wise move to stockpile at that position, because now Speedy Luke is wisely redshirting, I think. And it will remain to see if he ends up playing again for Arizona. And I have no inside information, but anytime a guy redshirts, he's got options. Right. So yes, it was smart of them to stockpile at that position because they lost so much. And both those guys are good running backs. Right. Is Ja'Cory Merritt a little bit better? Probably, but
they've been more than good enough.
Conley's a good back, and Risano has shown that he's probably worthy of at least most of his accolades out of high school. The big issue with the running game has been play design.
Yes.
And those slow developing delayed handoffs have not worked. When Arizona has ran out of the shotgun, where you're immediately putting the ball in the belly of the running back, when they have run with the running back moving towards the line of scrimmage as he's receiving the handoff, they've run very effectively. Last week was a great example. When they do the delayed handoff, because they have not passed out of that look or passed enough out of that look, teams are just selling out. So even if you see 7 in the box, suddenly you have 10 in the box, 9 in the box. So that is something, yes. It has no reflection on Alonzo Carter or the running backs themselves. It's to me, completely play design and play execution. You can run the delayed handoff effectively, but if you don't get enough blocking, if you don't blow those, that front 7, front 8 off the line of scrimmage, then no, the delayed handoff doesn't work, and it hasn't worked this year.
Yeah. Now let's talk about a little bit about the O-line again. Against Utah, it looked to me like the O-line was going to be, kind of a strength of the team, because I think here's where I'm at with the O-line, Brad. You've got P-Hoff says, are we as fans missing something with these delayed handoffs? Like, genuinely, how can we be it? So no, we're not missing anything. They suck. There's no other way to put it. They suck. I don't care what their theory is. It sucks.
That's the thing. The theory, it may be sound.
But it doesn't work.
But it hasn't worked, and it certainly doesn't work if you don't do anything else with it. Like, again, I don't like running to the jet sweep to the short side. But if you're doing that so you can get the cornerback to move in or the linebacker to move out, and you do some things later on with it, which Fish did do occasionally, then it's fine. You're sacrificing one play for a play later. But they haven't done that. It's just something that I think works when you have a dominant offensive line who zone blocks really well. I mean, that's somewhat of what some of that Shanahan running scheme is, but they're not good enough to do it. So scrap it and do what works, because last week I don't have the numbers in front of me. I would swear to you the delayed handoff averaged 1 yard a carry, and running out of the gun probably averaged 4.5 to 6 yards a carry.
Right. Now, let's talk a little bit about the O-line, though, because, again, I feel that this team has 5 good offensive linemen. And, again, Leif Magnuson, obviously wish him nothing but the best, him and his pops. But I will say, yeah, like I said, I don't expect him back. But I will say that with you've got 5 good offensive linemen, in my opinion. You've got Jonas Avenea. I think Rhino is shown to be pretty solid when he's healthy. Inside, when they got the Deuce boost, Alexander Deuce. You've got you got Wendell Moy and you got Josh Baker. I am fine with those 5. What bothers me is when you're starting a Ryan Stewart for some reason and you just say, well, it's because Moy was a little banged up or whatever, but then Moy comes into the game after like the first series and you're rotating or whatever. Ryan Stewart is a clear distant 6th. I know that he went to San Jose State. I get all of that. I don't care. Those are your 5 best offensive linemen.
Yeah, and if it comes down to something where it's familiarity with scheme, I think at that point you sacrifice that they may just blow a play here or there for guys who can also take over here and there.
Right.
So I think that's what you see there. I think that's when, sometimes coaches fall in love with guys who understand the scheme over athletic ability. And sometimes that makes sense. If you're, if you have a quarterback with all the amazing arm talent but can't figure out the offense, it doesn't work. But yeah, if I think at the guard position, you might take Deuce hitting the wrong guy 1 out of every couple plays.
I'll deal with it.
That's better than getting your knocked 3 feet back into the line because you're just not good enough.
Yes, that's where I'm at. All right, now let's talk a little bit about the BYU offense here. This is going to be a fascinating game for me because you've got a guy in Jake Retzlaff who's a solid quarterback. He's definitely brought some stability there to him. I mean, 12 touchdowns, 6 picks. He's not going to light you up for 500 yards, but he can also move a little bit. And that's going to be something that's going to be interesting to watch because, again, 60 yards against Baylor, 60 yards against Wyoming. Again, he's not Lamar Jackson, but the one thing that this team has had a difficult time with, whether it was Devin Dampier or whether it was Avery Johnson, is running quarterbacks. And again, he's not running like them. He's more of that Russell Wilson. You run just to kind of keep things honest, but I'll be interested to see what a more mobile quarterback does.
Yeah, but and where a guy like him becomes dangerous is 3rd and long, the pocket collapses, but he's able to step up and pick up that first down. Is he going to beat you for, he's not going to be 110 yards and 3 scores. But if he is 60 yards and 5 of those get you first downs and keep drives alive, that's dangerous. Again, let's play the drinking game. It's what Mahomes does. Mahomes will, Mahomes is what's the joke with Mahomes is he's a step faster than the guy chasing him.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be Lamar, but how many drives does he keep alive because he can get you that first down? And that's what this kid does. Funny calling a BYU quarterback a kid. Half of them are probably my age.
He's only 22. He's young.
Oh, he is. He's a baby for BYU.
He's a baby. He's like a freshman. He's like an early graduate.
But that's what he does. Again.
Oh, by the way, Joseph said Mahomes' dad definitely plays the drinking game. That was funny, Joseph. That was funny. William Brett Allis would say.
Well played.
All right. By the way, everybody hit the like button. I am sucking at this. Everybody hit the like button right now. Help out me and help out our good pal, the prodigious Kevin Thomas. Also, we've got a read coming up here. So now it is time for the 2-second tease. Branded bills. All right. Now, you might say to yourself, all right, well, Erica Elday, cool person. Guess what would make her even cooler? This, a branded bills. Branded bills. Okay, now, you might be like Dennis Walsh, and you're flying you're gallivanting all over the country, taking pictures and stuff. But you know what would make it even better? A branded bills. Brad, you hang out with the cool kids. You're the cool father. Let me ask you this. Do you know anybody with any of these kids with a branded bills?
I do. It was funny because one of the guys on my son's baseball team has one, and at first I thought it was the Long Beach State logo,
but it's branded bills,
and I couldn't figure out why it was on the side. And then when you did your read, this is showing brand
Yes.
I'm like, oh wait, Michael's wearing a Brandon Bills hat. And it's a sweet hat. He wears it a lot. It's a little beat up, a little sweaty, but he wears it to every practice. So yeah, Brandon Bills. The at least the kids on the west side of Tucson are sporting the hat.
West Side. Okay, but either way, Branded Bills, head to brandedbills.com and use code PHNX for 20% off your first order. Throw up the West Side. That's my Tupac reference. Okay, now.
Do I need to come up with a Flowing Wells sign, I guess? I don't know.
Absolutely.
F-dub.
F-dub. Yep, that's
F-dub,
what it is.
.
Yes, now, Eric Halday, you can definitely bring your Branded Bills hat to the watch party tomorrow. Remember, Bourbon Bent, be there. I believe at 1 o'clock. Check it out. Bourbon Bent, I will be there. Everybody will be there. All right, now, also, Brad, the Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Come on, all of it. You know the time. Oh, the ripple. Brad, let me see you do it again. Kevin L. Thomas, get in here. Or Kevin L. Thomas, get in here. Come on, Kevin, get in here. All right, everybody get the wave going. The Gila River Resorts Casinos wave. Now, you might be like me and say, man, I really, really wish that I could be at the Gila River Resorts and Casinos like the Mr. Tyler Warden, Andy Bryant, Kate Harrop, Dennis Walsh. But guess what? If you can't be there, guess what? You should still go there because it is a fun, immersive experience. That is the best part about it. The Gila River Resorts and Casinos. William Brad Allis, when you're going up to Phoenix, I'm sure you always see the wave. This is true.
Ironically enough, I was up the other night for a concert, and what could I not happen to notice as I drove up? I saw the wave and instantly thought of you.
Oh, again, who did you?
And then realized there was a Rawlings outlet there that I really want to hit, but didn't get a chance to.
Did you go up with a mutual friend of ours?
No, he bailed on me. I went solo.
Oh, you went solo? Okay.
I went solo, and guess what? There were a lot of dudes in their late 40s, early 50s solo at the concert.
You know what, Brad? You're not in that group. You're in your late 30s. William Brad Allis, though, at the Helios, you can tell with the new camera, Brad.
You can definitely tell the eye bags and yeah.
All right. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Don't be like Brad Allis and have confidence issues right now. You need to have great confidence.
Hey, I look great for 51. Do not look good for my late 30s, which I'm not in.
Okay, yes. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. One more time. Come on, one more time, everybody. The wave. Oh, I like this one. It's like a backstroke. There you go. Kevin's got a great wave. That one's awesome. June Thomas, you raised a very, very wise man. Okay, now, when it comes to Arizona's defense, I just need this team again. I'm at this point with this team. I have a lot of confidence in this team's defense. I really do, because I know that you're missed some defensive backs, losing Gunner and losing Stukes. Those are obviously losses. But I was talking about this the other day. You know what's kind of interesting to me is this is the one position on the team where going into the year you had really, really good depth. Because think about it. You could lose all of those guys, and guess what? At safety, you still have Dalton Smith. You still have Dalton Johnson, Genesis Smith. At the corners, you still have Tacario. You still have Marquise Groves-Killebrew. You still have Emmanuel Carnley. If you were to lose two guys and still have those guys, that's pretty solid depth there, William.
Yeah, I think Owen Goss got some good minutes, good snaps the other day. So yeah, but again, who of all the coaches you're going to trust to make sure you have plenty of defensive backs? I will say this, I know it's kind of taboo here. Jed Fish did a good job stockpiling defensive backs.
He did,
and then they went out and got more defensive backs. So they've stockpiled at that position, and with them running essentially a 5 and sometimes 6 DB system. It was imperative that you load up on those positions because, you can't, you're not relying heavily on linebackers.
By the way, Mr. Tyler Warden, the great Mr. Tyler Warden says, I never got a my bad Carnley from Skier. This is true. Skier was not a big fan of Emmanuel Carnley before the year. You were, if I'm not mistaken, though, William Brad Allis.
I can't credit that one. I mean, I obviously, I like stockpiling DB. So yes, so I'll take that one. Yeah.
All right, there we go. Okay, now, now it's going to we're going to get here for a prediction here in just a second. But first, I want to talk to you a little bit about the defensive line. That to me is also what's got to hold up here, and it's held up. And, again, when you go against a guy like Taj Brooks is going to get yards. When you got a guy that was 17, that went for 1,600 yards last year, he's going to get yards. Just going to be the case. But what they've done is they have not been gashed, though. And I look on the defensive line was my biggest concern going into the season on the defensive outside. But William, with a big Stanley, with an Isaiah Johnson, and on the outside, whether it's been Chase Kennedy, by the way, he's been a nice little surprise. Trey Smith, Ty. D line has been solid for me.
Yeah, and I think they've improved. I think they've done a better job. Still not a great job, but contain. Obviously, yeah, I think your key there is they've given up yards, but they haven't been gashed really since Dampier.
Right.
If you look at it, yeah, I forget the total. Kansas State put a lot of rushing numbers on them. But at the end of the day,
still 24 points.
24 points. Avery Johnson beat them, but didn't beat them bad. They held the running backs relatively. And that's really, I think, what this defense has to be. This defense has to keep you in the mid-20s, has to keep from giving up big plays, big chunk plays, big touchdowns, and force you to play kind of, in many ways, again, kind of what Stoops did. Remember, Stoops wanted to get you in those 8, 9, 10, 11 play drives because his theory was college kids are going to eventually mess up.
Right.
And how many times did Stoops play bend but don't break? And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And I think that's kind of what the goal. These guys are going to force maybe some more turnovers. They're a little turnover hungry at times, which is a good thing. But the big thing is, no quick strikes, no quick 2-3 play possessions. Keep it in a manageable number of possessions of the game. And as the person said, if you score 30 with this defense, you should win more often than not. Because, with the exception of New Mexico, where you're putting up 61, you've held everyone in check.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. All right. Now we are going to get to our predictions here, brought to you by the prodigious Kevin Thomas. We do not like what William Brad Allis's prediction was from the show, but you know what? Here's what we got. Mike, 31-21. Good guys. William Brad Allis, 27-24. The why. Brad, why are you wrong?
Why am I wrong? Because Arizona's going to end up scoring 30. They're going to tweak the offense. They're going to fix it. They're going to be efficient in the red zone. If they do that, then they're going to put up 30 to 35 points and win this game. My fear is I just haven't seen it enough.
Right. So basically, this is something you've got to see it before you believe it.
Yeah, before I pick Arizona on the road against anyone, of decency. And again, I picked
Utah on the road, my friend.
What's that?
They beat Utah on the road.
I need to see it again. Utah didn't play well.
Okay.
Again, I need to see it. I need to see it consistently. And again, I think I picked against them at Utah. You didn't ask me. I would have picked against them with K-State. But I would have, I picked them to, a good. I don't know. Did you know Vinny Vanzetta?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He used to cover Texas Tech. He's now in San Antonio. He asked me. I thought Arizona would win by 3 last week. So, it shows what I know.
Well, Brad, I mean, they did feel like the better team.
They did. They were the better team, and that's what's frustrating.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this. Palmer Hoffman says, if we go out and win, look good, how do you change your expectations for the rest of the year? That is a great question, and I was going to hit on that next, because at that point, because again, the Big 12 is a total mess. From top to bottom, it's a total mess. If you're Arizona, you're then 2-1 in conference, and you would have 2 road wins against 2 of the better teams in the league in Utah and BYU. You're coming back. You got Colorado then. It really does kind of change things to a certain extent.
Yeah, it really makes that Colorado game important, or more important, because I think if Arizona goes into that game 2-1 with wins over Utah and BYU, as someone I think noted to the side, they're the Utah State champion. Then you beat Colorado, and suddenly you're kind of in the driver's seat. But if you go in 2-2, it's not a disaster unless you just get your doors blown off. You're out of the realistic running for the Big 12, but you can still have a good season. But you beat BYU, you beat Colorado, and suddenly we're back to looking at those 9-10 wins and a possible berth in the Big 12 championship game, because this is a wide open, wild league without an elite team.
Right. And that's the thing, is that you don't go in, I've said this before the season, you don't go into any game saying you have no chance of winning. And there's been a lot of Arizona seasons, Brad, that we've looked at, and we're like, well, that's a loss, that's a loss, that's a loss, that's a loss. And you just look at it. There's no game that Arizona can't beat, or win. But you know what? I think we've also found out that there's no game that Arizona can't lose either.
And that's just the Big 12 in general.
Right.
I mean, with the exception of Houston, is there a dog in this league's pretty good.
Right.
Maybe Cincy's not great, but West Virginia's solid. You go down the line, Kansas has played below what I think their talent level is, but they can certainly surprise you. So that's just what this league is. With Utah being normal, not special. There's no special team in this league. There's no, in the Pac-12, you used to run into, a great USC team, a great Washington, a great Oregon. For a while, there was some great Stanford and UCLA teams. I'm showing you how old I am with great UCLA teams, but
five Rose Bowl Terry Donahue.
I've been watching this team since 80-81. So, but there's no one like that, and there's no program like that in the Big 12. Now, could someone become that? Yeah, and ironically enough, I think two of your best candidates are probably in the state of Utah. Whereas I think, with being in a big time league, BYU might be able to find some magic. Utah, as long as Whittingham's there, is going to be very good. But, as good as I think Gundy has been at Oklahoma State, he can't take them to another level. They're always going to be that 8-9 win program, I think, with the occasional special year. Aranda has shown me nothing at Baylor. I know he's had some good years, but there's no consistency there. So it's a wide open league, and that's good for a program like Arizona, which, unlike the Wave, is up and down.
But by the way, what do you think of this wave? It's like a paralyzed wave, or
it looks more like a snake.
It's like a partially paralyzed wave.
Yeah.
Well, Dennis Walsh, the great Dennis Walsh, is wrong. Troy Aikman was the last. No. UCLA, the best one. You should know this with Cade Otton, not Cade Otton.
McDown.
Cade McDown. That was the last UCLA, and that was a really, really good UCLA team. Okay, Now a bunch of people are. Shear said in here. He said, "Mike, I'm telling you, man, I'm predicting a 10-point plus victory. I think very, very highly of that." Yes, and Shear, yes, I have like 3 times actually. Okay, now let's talk. It is also time. We're going to get back to some Arizona football.
So is that really Shear? Or is that one of the mini Shear impersonators out there?
No, I think this is actually him because he's saying things that only Shear would know.
Okay.
Oh, wait a second. The Hawk Tua girl is from Nashville. Hawk Tua. Is that still a popular thing?
Yeah, I still hear it referenced every once in a while. I'm not 100% sure all the kids who reference it exactly know what it is.
Yeah, is that still a thing, Kevin Thomas?
It's still kind of a thing. I think she's done a good job of capitalizing on her little moment of fame. She's got a podcast now called Talk Tua. So there's that too. So yeah, she's doing her little marketing thing. It's nice. It's smart of her.
What has more legs with the kids right now? That or wop 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 wop?
More legs, like longevity.
Yeah, what's bigger? What's bigger with the kids now? That or wop wop wop?
Well, I think in general it's probably the Hawk Tua girl, but I think in Tucson, I think Mike Luke's wop 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 has been played across the radios all month, all season, if you will. So.
Interesting. I did not know that. Okay, very good stuff. Now
you're the most popular guy in the Southwest, Mike. We know this.
I mean, it's because of this. But all right, we have the rooting guide now. Coming up here. Now here it is. Here's the rooting guide. This is by popular demand, and this will be here all of basketball season as well. Okay, let's break these games down here, William, one by one. Utah ASU. What are you looking for? What are you looking for tonight? I am looking for a big ASU victory. What say you?
What am I rooting for, or what am I looking for?
What are you looking for? How about that?
I'm looking to see if Utah rebounds and how well they play. I can't, unless it directly benefits Arizona at this point. Arizona has the tiebreaker over Utah. I can't root for ASU. No. Right. So yeah,
give me
either Wilson or Rising. Give me the Utes.
All right, give me the Utes now. Is it 2 Utes or just 1 Ute?
Depends who plays quarterback. You could have 2 Utes.
Are you going to go with? All right. So is this going to be is this a big victory, a low victory? What are low victory? Is this?
You know what? I think Utah wins solid enough, but they don't blow ASU out. I think ASU has proven they're not. They don't suck. They're pretty good.
Okay, now let's talk about Iowa, Washington. I've got a rare prediction that I think is going to hit. This score, Iowa is going to win 2-0. It's going to be a safety, and it's going to be a shootout for Iowa. This is going to be an interesting, I would say, dare I say, low scoring game. William Brad Allis.
Yes, but I'm going to say Iowa scores a touchdown. It'll be a defensive
No.
touchdown. It'll be a defensive touchdown. But yeah, so they might win 9-6.
Let me ask you this, Brad. You covered recruiting for a long time.
Yeah.
Why in the world would any skill position player ever want to go to Iowa under any circumstances ever, outside of that being your only scholarship?
If you're a tight end, you go there in a heartbeat.
Agreed. But if you're a wide receiver, why would you go there? If you're a quarterback, why would you go there?
Well, the only reason you would go there as a quarterback is you might get to start 4 years.
Okay.
And sadly, my wife is from Iowa. I watch a lot of Iowa football. I have mid 80s Tomey flashbacks, except it's worse.
Is Hayden Fry considered the best coach in Iowa history?
Yes, even though Ferentz's record is actually quite better.
Yeah, but Ferentz does nothing for me. No thanks. I would rather lose and be entertained than win and watch that. I could never watch Iowa football.
Is Ferentz a more boring version of Gundy? Like Iowa's always good.
A far more boring version.
They're always going to win between 7 and 10 games.
Ferentz is literally, and then they're going to somehow get to the Big Ten championship game and lose by 800 points each season.
Or even worse, the one against Michigan State a few years ago, where if Iowa wins, they go to the national championship playoff, and they just couldn't move the ball in the red zone.
First downs in that game. That was maybe the most. That was maybe the most inept offensive performance I think that I have ever seen. It was gross.
Yeah.
Let's see here, but I could never watch that. Plus, they had Caitlin Clark. That is a good point, Eric Alday. All right, now can we get back the rooting guide back up one more time? This is the battle of good versus evil. All right,
Kansas. Yeah, so I'm not only rooting for Iowa, but I do think Iowa will win.
All right, yes, okay. Kansas State, Colorado. I like Kansas State to get back on the winning track here. I am going to say something though. I don't like saying this. But I will say that Travis Hunter is hands down the best player in college football. It's not even close.
Yes, and Shedeur Sanders is pretty good. Though I would not draft him if I'm an NFL team.
I would not draft him, but I wouldn't draft him because I don't want to deal with Dion. I don't want to have anything to do with.
I want my quarterback to be a nerd.
But the thing about him, though, is that
he's got too much other
I totally get what you're saying, and I almost always agree with you. But the thing that makes him a little bit different is that he's a very cerebral football player. When you watch him, it's
no doubt, and he's got amazing arm talent.
Right,
but there's a lot of guys in the NFL right now. I mean, who match, but the situation has to be right. And at some point, say what you will. I mean, Tom Brady dated supermodels and actresses, right, and was still at home studying film 6 nights a week while eating that insane diet.
Right.
Peyton Manning, he's a nerd. He's a nerd who throws the football amazing and does bad commercials now, but he's a nerd. Right. Mahomes,
Ben Roethlisberger was a cool guy. Maybe a little too cool.
But to me, you've got to. I want your interest. Again, let's play the dream game. There's a great story about Mahomes, how the wives were all in a volleyball league, and all the players went, and a bunch of them were tailgating, pre-gaming outside the gym, and they all go in, and suddenly there's a big play by one of the wives, and they all look to high five Pat, and he's gone. He was out in the car on the iPad studying film. I mean, that's
Joe Montana was a cool guy,
but Joe Montana was also poring over film. He married his incredibly hot wife and was poring over film. So,
that's true. But real quick,
again, Aaron Rodgers started dating famous women and hasn't won a playoff game since.
Would you go with, so who do you like in that game, Colorado or Kansas State? I'm going Kansas State.
I'm rooting for Kansas State. Gut feeling is Colorado might find a way to win.
Now, would you do you agree if you had a Heisman vote? I'm not sure you don't. If you had a Heisman
I do not have a Heisman vote, no.
Do you have a Heisman vote?
No, I have a Wooden Award.
Oh,
still do.
A Wooden Award.
No, very fancy. Shout out to Cranky Steve.
But I would vote. I think Travis and the running back from Boise State's really awesome, obviously. But I've just never seen anybody that does what Travis Hunter does, where you're literally playing every single snap on both sides of the football, and you're awesome at both sides.
Because I'm that guy, I'm going for Genty.
Well, right.
What he's doing is insane. But yeah, Travis Hunter is certainly deserving. But
okay, so either way, that's where we got.
Yeah.
That is the
I think Hunter will win. If I had a vote right now, this very moment, it would be the kid from Boise.
That is the rooting guide for everybody. Also, I think that parlay is going to hit, by the way. So again, make yourself some money. Think about this next time. Think about this next time. Okay, now let's talk about what a win would mean, and then we're going to get to some Arizona basketball because I wanted to pick William's mind on a little bit of recruiting as well. Brad, let's say that we're sitting here next Tuesday, and we're talking about this game in Arizona. Don't matter how it happens. It could be an Iowa victory, 2-0, but Arizona wins this game, and then all of a sudden, you're right back into everything. I mean, seriously, you look at it and you're like, all right, well, you know what? Your chances are about as good as anybody.
You're looking at that Colorado game and saying that thing's huge. The winner's in the driver's seat.
Right. The winner's in the driver's seat. And Arizona could be on their way to a college football playoff berth. Can we get that hype going if Arizona were to beat BYU? Only to lose by 30 to Colorado the next week?
Yeah, that's the problem. You would really like a buffer game in between. But yes. No, I think that's what you're looking at. You're looking at if Arizona goes in and beats BYU, especially if they do it looking good. And it could be a close victory, but looking good. Then you're thinking this is a team that can make a run. This could be like last year's team that got hot because some things went their way. Realistically, it was obviously the emergence of Noah Fifita. But you could almost maybe look at the Texas Tech game being like last year's USC game, where you lost, but you really showed what you were made of.
All right, Dennis Walsh, the great pilot Dennis Walsh says you would need a completely new offense to get the hype back. Fair enough. That's the thing. I mean, going into the year, I thought we would have a top 15 offense, not a bottom 15 offense. And maybe it gets back a little bit, but
here's the thing: unless you have utter incompetence, I can't believe you have utter incompetence. There's things in the playbook you lift and you just put some of those pages of slow developing.
Utterly kind of incompetent. He looked like the game against him.
But you got to think there's still some plays there that these guys know that you can use for that short passing game, for that quick strike, which then opens up those long plays. And my problem was, and again, I think a lot of it's what they're doing with Fifita. I think by not getting him out of the pocket, by not rolling him out, by not putting him in the gun every play, he's having trouble seeing the middle of the field.
So is it that incompetence on the coaching staff then? Because
but what I mean by incompetence is you just don't have those plays even drawn up that you haven't practiced. It's real easy to say, you know what, this play really works if we put him in the gun. So let's put him in the gun. Or, you know what, this play works. Let's boot him out and run that same play. So I assume those plays are there. They're not all 20, 30-yard downfield passing. You just got to turn to that page of the playbook and tweak, as opposed to having to install an entirely new offense, which is what some people have suggested. I think it's there. It's just, can you tap into it?
All right. Now, we're going to get to something in a second, but this is before the 2-second delay. Kobe Alfeel, I guess, is mad because he's worried that somebody is going to dox him, according to Erica Alday. I do not know why you were worried about that. Do not worry, my friend. All right. Now, before we get into a little bit of Arizona basketball recruiting, it is time for a 2-second pause. NUTRL. William Brad Allis. Have you ever had a NUTRL?
I can't say as I have.
Okay. It is good. Now, the cool kids all drink NUTRL. I can't tell you, if you go up and down or a sorority row, all it is discarded neutrals because they are drinking NUTRLs to be cool. And again, maybe it helps them, maybe it doesn't. But you also might say, Kevin Thomas, that guy probably drinks a NUTRL because he is also from St. Louis. Oh, by the way, we got 2 football players from St. Louis. Keep it tasty. Enjoy responsibly. 2024 Anheuser-Busch NUTRL flavored vodka and carbonation, St. Louis, Missouri. Hello, Kevin L. Thomas.
Oh, hello. I just wanted to join in and say that I have had NUTRL. I had it at a Phoenix Mercury game. Diana Taurasi's last home game as of right now. It seems sad. But the NUTRL was not sad. The NUTRL was very happy. I love my NUTRL. It was a great time. Had a tall boy. It was a good time.
Is she the best women's basketball player ever?
Maybe most decorated. She's up there though.
Is she better than Nancy Lieberman Klein?
I mean, respectfully, considering I don't know who that is, I would go.
I mean,
Joe Pesci was.
Lieberman Klein did get an NBA tryout with the Indiana Pacers.
Oh wow!
I don't know who is this person.
No, you got to look up Nancy Lieberman Klein. She's one of the OGs. One of the OGs.
I will learn something today.
Also, you might say to yourself, where can I go watch these Merc games? Because these are going to be packed houses. Game time. Listen, you might be like William Brad Allis and you want to listen to, or maybe go watch a WNBA game. But guess what, Brad? Either way, Game Time has got you covered, my friend. This is true. You should have used Game Time for your tickets when you went up to Phoenix.
Who said I didn't?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I was trying to do a doubleheader. So the band I went to go see, Clutch, who was not they were co-headliners with a band called Rival Sons, who some people may know. If they had gone on first, or first of the co-headliners, there's another band too. There's a Southern rock band. Then I was going to try to use Game Time to shoot downtown and go catch most of Iron Maiden's set.
Oh wow!
I had it loaded. I had the ticket there. The tickets had dropped because the doors had already opened. Fortunately, because it was a great show. Clutch went second, so I did not get to shoot over to Iron Maiden. I made the right decision though. Clutch was awesome, and they're not rah.
All right, now take the guesswork out of buying tickets just like William Brad Allis with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time app. What time is it? Game time. Ooh. All right, now. Oh, wait a second here. I thought it was Lieberman's. I knew it was Lieberman-Stein.
No, it's Klein.
Oh, wait a second. Now
It's Klein.
Yeah, okay, all right.
And it's not Liederman either, but you know.
I said Nancy Lieberman Klein, didn't I?
Yeah, you said it right.
Yeah, I said it right. Yeah, don't be confusing me out here. I am totally confused now. I said Nancy Lieberman Klein. Everybody heard it. Well, nobody's watching the show, so it doesn't matter. But if they were, they would know that I said Nancy Lieberman Klein. That is where it's at. Okay, now, Brad, I want to talk a little bit of Arizona basketball recruiting with you. Dwayne Aristode. 5-star wing out of Brewster Academy. Do you remember the last U of A player to get to sign from Brewster Academy?
Was it Zeus?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Right. Emmanuel Negadu.
Okay. Where'd Zeus go? He went to one of those New Hampshire academies, though.
Yeah, wasn't it like St. Mark's or something like that? And like,
I think he went to one of the bigger ones, man. It might not have been Brewster, but he was one of those prep schools.
Yeah. But this guy's good. 5-star kid. He's got multiple crystal balls coming in for him. Listen, the one thing that I think people have wondered about the Tommy gun with roster development is, yes, you can bring in, like, obviously you do a great job with grad transfers and portal guys. Don't think there's any doubt about that. The international recruiting has not been good. The domestic high school recruiting has probably been a C at best. This would be a very, very good time to get a 5-star wing to maybe build off of hope, and then maybe add a Koa Pete to it. What are your thoughts on Aristode's game?
Yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of his game, but he's a bigger wing. He's 6'8", so he fits in kind of that position flexibility we've seen from Tommy Gunn. And I know a lot of what's the negative recruiting out there right now that he uses 2 bigs.
I don't see what the problem with that is.
No, I don't either. But at the same time, Aristode seems like a guy that if you needed to, you could throw out there and play him at the 4, even though he's really a double wing system. Kind of like they might do at times with Carter Brett. He's big, he's long, he's rangy, but he certainly is a pure wing. But adding him to a class, and whether I think the dream class would be Pete Burries and him. I don't know if that's attainable. I don't know if you have the salary cap to do that, but that would certainly give you 3 very distinct high-level players to mix with an already talented staff.
I've always felt, too, that when it comes to 2025, I felt that 2025 is going to be the class where you really can figure out, because Lloyd will have been here 4 years. This, like with recruiting, so much of it is about connections, being able to build a relationship. So I've always said that I've always said that this would be the year. This is the year that I need to see you get a multiple couple big time guys. And I'm not backing away from that. I will not back away from that. I think that Lloyd needs to have a pretty darn good 2025 recruiting class.
No, I think it's imperative, even though, again, it'll be interesting to see where we continue to go, how teams, because remember, there was a long time when teams couldn't win a national championship with a one and done.
Right.
Just teams didn't.
Proved that.
Yeah. But eventually that changed. And now we're going to find out, can you live and die with the transfer portal? As our guys like, Nate Oates are trying to do, and some of those guys, or do you have to have that strong foundation of not only NBA talent, high school players, but a variety of guys, you're a 1-year guy, a 2-year guy, a 4-year guy. So that is something I think we have to see. But I think, you've got Koa Pete in your backyard, and you have a chance to get him. This isn't one of those, because again, 6 months ago, it looked like maybe there's no way you're getting him. You have a chance to get him, you have to get him. But if you can get, this kid, you can get a Burries. I know there's a couple other guys out there. And that's the other thing. You have to also find then some secondary guys, unless you're just going to only hit the transfer market for that. You need your 2 or 3 year, 4-year guys to come in and bolster the program.
Right. Len Altieri with fighting words from Len. Mike is just as bad as Rod Gilmore on names.
We don't badmouth Len. I've had some professional dealings with Len. Len's awesome.
Yeah, no. But Len, be very nice to me. Very nice to me, though, Len.
All of them are fighting words.
Yes, yeah, that is. Yes, no, Dick Wilson, the great Dick Wilson says, Mike usually gets one of the names right. This is true. It just Gilmore butchers both. Yes, Tet McMillan. So there's obviously that.
Quail,
now,
which is stuck now. So now Rod's right.
Oh, did you see that they're now calling him Quail
Yeah,
Conley?
I read that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I very much like Quail Conley. Okay, now let's discuss now a little bit Elijah Arenas. He is you look at it depending on the recruiting service, he's top 3 or top 5 in the entire nation. I thought Gilbert Arenas made a very good point with Justin Spears too when he was talking about Arizona, and he said, my son's NIL will be higher at Arizona than it would anywhere else because of how marketable that name is. That's a great point that I hadn't even really thought about it. Also, I think people, and Brad, you covered Gilbert Arenas extensively. So I'm going to let you, but people have this idea that Gilbert Arenas would be this LeVar Ball. He's not LeVar Ball at all. Is he immature? Is he goofy? Yes, but he's also not going to be there. I don't see him being nearly the problem that a LeVar Ball would. William Brett Allis, you have the floor.
I think if Gilbert's going to be a problem, it's going to be a problem now because he's so unpredictable. You don't know, because in theory, they shouldn't have to worry about the fake NIL. And what I mean by fake NIL money is the pay to play that is going on. He is absolutely right. If Elijah wants to use the Arenas name, then he can be what I call true NIL, which is, the endorsements, the commercials, the hawking of products, which is what NIL is supposed to be. That he has a leg up, as does Andre Jr., as probably does Jason Gardner Jr. I'm not sure those guys.
I saw Gardner Jr. At Gentle Ben's. He's a good 2 to 3 inches taller than his father.
So are you.
Well, that's a good point.
I'm not. I am shorter than Jason. But that's what but you don't know where Gilbert's head is. We know he still likes the U of A, but he was a loot guy. Obviously him coming back last weekend or a couple weekends ago was huge. But does he want a big payday for his son, or is he like, no, we're rich?
Right.
I still got China money. And does he then just say, no, it's where is best for him? And that could be at Arizona, because you can start to build your own brand at Arizona that you might not be able to at another place where they're literally just handing you that money from the collective. But Gilbert could also say, he needs to go to a place where he can have a mansion with his Shark Tank like his dad. I don't know, because Gilbert's crazy.
Right.
But I think once he gets there, because Gilbert understands what
Gilbert's
it takes.
Not a dummy.
He understands what it takes to get to the league, which is why, as crazy as he was and as difficult as he could be around the program, when it actually came down to the floor, the court, what Lute said went.
Right.
And that's why he became a great player. Yes, he could drive Gene Edgerson mad right before practice, he could, be a goofball at the hotel, but you got him between the lines,
Right.
and it was all business.
He obviously, if he wanted to be a jerk, as a sophomore, he could have averaged more than 15 points per game. I mean, that was a loaded team. It's the best team in school history. I get all of that, but he could have. He sacrificed because anybody that saw him knew that he was the most talented player on that team. And he sacrificed. He could have averaged more than that. I mean, he just could have, but so I don't really worry about that at all. Also,
but they all that group back then, especially, they understood it doesn't matter what you do at Arizona. It matters what you do in the pros. Richard Jefferson, same thing. Richard Jefferson could score 20 a game at other schools.
He averaged 11 here.
And was a first-round draft pick and is a multimillionaire, as is Gilbert, as is a lot of other guys on that team. Ironically, go down the list. Lauren Woods carved out a really nice career for himself.
Mm-hmm. Michael Wright was never going to be a pro, so it didn't matter. He could have been here 8 years. It could have been here 4 years. He wasn't going to be a pro.
And without the off-court stuff, him passing away early, he was making millions of dollars a year playing overseas.
Yeah, so
he was one of the higher paid players in the EuroLeague. Part of it was he changed the citizenship. So those guys knew. And I can tell you other guys, I had conversations that recruits would come in and demand, I'm going to score 20. No, you don't score 20 points a game. You play 20 minutes a game to go make $20 million. That's literally what Hassan Adams, I overheard him telling someone once.
Right. I mean, it just, it just kind of is what I was trying to think about this. And Bayless doesn't count as a loot guy, but Bayless is the only freshman that I can remember that flirted with 20 a game.
Well, that was because they had nothing else.
Well, I actually did. That's not true. They had Buttinger. They had Jordan Hill.
Remember, Buttinger was he was banged up. That wasn't that the year he was banged up and was dealing with the illness. No. And the irony is, you mentioned Gilbert. If Gilbert had come back for the junior year, remember, Gardner scored 19 that year a game?
Yeah. Gilbert could have been the national player of the year.
He would have scored like 25, 27 within the framework of the offense. Because Jason, and I love Jason Gardner, he wasn't Gilbert Arenas. I think Gilbert Arenas might be, with the exception of DeAndre Ayton, the most talented basketball player to play at Arizona.
I would agree with that.
And he's a better basketball player, obviously.
Yes. When I look at perimeter players, there's three guys that stand out to me. Also, Len Altieri, MNBA talk, very good. There's three guys that stand out to me above everybody else. I'm not. It's Sean Elliott. Obviously, I never really saw Sean, but in my lifetime, it's Gilbert Arenas and it's Mike Bibby. Those are the two that were just different. Now, again, the physical talent was different, but Mike Bibby, I've never seen somebody come in from that red-blue game on where it was just like, whoa. That dude was just.
No, Gilbert was special.
Yeah, and Gilbert was very much the same way as well.
As much as I love and adore Salim Stoudemire, that was because he could shoot the basketball like none other, but he wasn't as physically different.
Gilbert and Khalid are the two most talented shooting guards from the Olsen era on. I can't go with Eric Money, or I don't know who I never saw them. Too.
What's weird is I've actually tried to find video of Money and Norman, because I hear what Norman was. You can't find video of him either.
Right. So I can't know. I don't know. I can't speak on that.
I might have to go talk to Murph and get me into the archives underneath McHale or something.
I was going to say Murph. Yeah, get us in there. We need to find something. Okay. Before we sign off here, Brad, you got anything going on? Any podcasts? Anything that we should know about?
I am hoping once fall break is over for the Allis twins that I'll be able to start doing podcasts again next week. Also, baseball season is winding down. So we've only got a couple of weeks left of the baseball season. So then I'll actually maybe have a little bit of free time and time to breathe, but I don't want to promise anything I can't keep. So right now it's just going to be the Tuesdays with you and the occasional post-game show and things like that.
Okay, great. Now with also we got the watch party tomorrow. Kevin Thomas, if you could pull this up. I don't know if we've got this or not. Doesn't matter. But either way, come to it. Bourbon Bent. We will be there at about 12:30, I believe. Come check it out. It's on University. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. And Eric Elday will be hosting. Well, I'll be hosting too. But either way, it's going to be a very good time. We would very much like to see you up there. Also.
So wait, we have Erica L. Day, Kevin L. Thomas.
Yeah, everybody's middle name is L.
Do you have to become Mike L. Luke?
Oh, no, I am Michael Luke.
Like L, Luke.
Yes, yeah. Everybody's got an L name. I mean, it's really Gringo
Listen,
L. Billy.
I'm feeling left out.
Some
Right.
misinformation. Some misinformation is what this is, Brad Allis.
Hey, you know her? He's from St. L.
The Lou. Yeah.
All right. Well,
No, that
you
is.
got me on that one. I can't even deny it.
Is it really not L then?
Yeah.
No, it's really not. It's Andre.
Oh, okay.
What is it?
Yeah. Andre.
Oh,
Leon
so
Andre.
it's Kevin back the A Thomas then.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's even better. I mean, no
about-
offense.
How about William Brad L. Allis? No, it's good. No, Kevin L. Thomas, Jacob L. Franklin, everybody on there. All right. This thing has gone off the rails, but what? All right, Brad, as always, very much appreciate you, my guy. Oh, look at this. That's so good. And we will see you on Tuesday. For Brad Allis, for Kevin L. Thomas, I am merely Mike Luke, TTFN, ta-ta for now. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.